they're certainly laughing behind your back there, Reinforce, as Matt and Mitch are ready to cast all the action. Who you got winning this one? Is Jake's spread too spicy for you guys, or any
throwing heat?
believers?
It's a panda pick, but I like
it. Is.
I'm with Jake. I ain't trying to get, food poisoning in Toronto.
That's what's up,
I'm trying to have a good time. I love Toronto. Toronto is amazing.
Fun fact.
I got Toronto.
This guy was in hospital the day before the New York finals with something similar. So it happens to Matt when we
so
go to
I'm trying to make that not happen. Let's go Toronto.
Okay. Fine. I mean, look, I love the story of seeing Toronto in Toronto. I think Jay makes a great point. I think both of these teams, Matt, are pretty likely to be able to qualify. I do think that London team is, can definitely throw a spanner in the works, so to speak, there.
Scary. Yeah.
Look, I think the Boston Uprising, what they showed us against London, I think, was really important. They adapted very effectively to that composition. The Defiant have a very different look. They played, obviously, much more dispersed than the Spitfire, but I still think this team of veterans and mostly champions, as Johnny pointed out, will have the upper hand.
I'm super curious, like, with the opener sub here early on. See how that kind of, like,
you just need Lucio
for the Defiant.
Wait, Majid to play Lucio?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? So what happened then? He was very involved in the fights, Majid, when he played Lucio.
Yeah, but they've also done tons of games where they've just not played Lucio at all. Like, even on Flashpoint, they've had, like, opportunities where they could obviously sub him in and do, Lucio stuff, but they don't.
Well, the best case for playing Lucio on Lijiang Tower is actually in the server right now on the Boston Uprising. Because Lijiang has had some pretty incredible moments on this map. Maybe we don't get that. The Brig seems so strange against like a longer range setup. I can't imagine we see it, but the Lucio here is, I don't think he can go without it. I don't think Izzyaki is going for the Iliari either. But this would be interesting. How much Baptiste? Yeah, I suppose you can get a bit of Baptiste from Izzyaki, so this makes sense. By the way, just sitting on the bench chilling is Twilight, so God forbid if we ever have a metagame where he gets unleashed, the Uprising have options for days. But Toronto are at the point first, because they're actually playing the Sim Bastion, but Birdwing's on the Sojourn.
Yeah, and Decay on the Genji, right? So we've seen a ton of teams go for the Bastion pick. Does a ton of damage with that grenade, and you opt to not run that Bastion or even the Sim, right? Where Sim, even without like kind of the, uprising of Sim play here now, has always been pretty decent on this map and even seen some play.
We saw this earlier in the season. Merit would love to play Sojourn here. I remember them playing against the Gladiators actually when they were going against the Sim, and still Merit was able to be successful in a Sojourn mirror. Lijiang doing his thing, looking for Spectre, and Izzyaaki's able to find the extra damage there as well. Ultraviolet, tough to hang on there, but he had no choice but to keep that right click held down for the team.
That's crazy that they get, Smurf and Lijiang get that far, that deep, and they don't even get, like, punished. I mean, Izzyaki able to just kind of keep, both of those players alive, but really impressive stuff there as they collapse right on top of Spectra.
Izzyaki can't stop the teleporter here. Eventually it is removed, though. The Defiant get to the point in numbers, and they've got an Ant Matrix to play around here, but Birdring, he's in a great spot to get value there. He gets that mostly out of the Terror Surge, but now to be a sound barrier from both teams as Birdring looks to get to the back of the point. Immortality Field late in the fight, but it's not even close to enough. Eventually Kaluj is brought down, and Smurf is the only casualty here for Boston.
Yes, Boston, they'll have, a chunk of ultimates here for this next fight, right? You'll have like the overclock, you'll have Terror Surge, you have a Blade is Izzyaki keeps going up there to try and like maybe block where they're trying to go with the TP, not allow them to actually place it down, like just kind of body block it, which is super interesting. But some really good ultimates here for the Uprising, and you have that sound barrier here for opener, so maybe you're actually able to fight this on the point play a little bit closer together. As there's the Blade, this sound barrier in response.
Yeah, nothing from the Blade there from the K, but you hardly can be surprised. The Terror Surge sucks people on the other side of the wall. Oh, the boop! There had to be Lijiang involved in that. Hydron gets knocked back into the Terror Surge by Lijiang. And now the K late in the fight is able to find a bit more purchase. Spectra, though, wards him off with a grenade, but now Birdring can wrap around.
Still here.
And So is Birdering. Kalush is running out of defensive setups here. Izayaki, Exo Booty goes up. Eventually gets brought down by Kalush. And guess who's here? It's Opener. He's back. They can't keep the Orisa alive, though. But Birdering's reinforcements come back in. And you have a tank, your opponent's
This is good for Boston. This is good for Boston.
The Air Matrix.
Wait, an Air Matrix.
What a turnaround. Ultraviolet and Hydron make full use of that ability. Smurf's able to find a kill on Ultraviolet, but there's nothing there. What a turnaround by Toronto. That was sick.
I mean, Boston, Izayaki and Birdring, you had dealt with a tank. You actually get kind of pushed off the point there by Opener. And you think there's like a whole cavalry of players coming back for the Boston Uprising, but Ultraviolet uses an Amp Matrix by the choke, and that changes everything.
Instantly, 2 players of Boston vaporize. And it was just Smurf left alone on the point. Kalush did very well to hang on as long as he did, with Opener coming to his rescue. Spectre checking his teammates' screens here just for that extra bit of information. Still doesn't yield any result. They've lost Opener. He overextends. Birdering's able to catch him out there. And here come the Uprising once more. The Defiant get into the lead by that 10%. But Birdering is still pushing. There's a Bastion around the corner. But Spectre is out of wheels mode. And Smurf is looking dangerous in this position. Yeah, knocking Spectre into his, potential assailant there. And the Uprising regain control.
Man, this is going to be a really fun series as you see Lee J. God goes deep trying to get a kill there on the Opener. You look now, could be Decay's blade that seals this.
Could be Lee Jagon's beat that seals it as well. A lot to work with for the Uprising, and here they go. They're going to use both of the aforementioned and Ultraviolets. Can't benefit from the Immortality field. Kalush tries a Terror Surge. It does allow Hydron to get back to the point. This is very dangerous for Decay. It has to be another Immortality field to keep the Genji hale and hardy. Very quickly, Hydron has to get out. There will be a chance to touch, but a slim one.
Yeah,
Not the Orisa.
Nope. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, maybe it's like Spectre is going to get back to it to touch, but not able to do so. I like how they played that close, where Boston didn't allow Toronto to just take tons of space, get onto the point. They came right around that corner with that sound barrier and blade. And interesting enough, they destroyed the TP before everybody was able to make it through, right? So I believe they're able to catch Ultraviolet and Kalush there.
What a career Birdering has had. Starting towards like the top of our, I don't know, power rankings, season 1, 2, with a bit of a fall off and, a lot of back and forth on different rosters in the middle of his career now. 9-1 on Sojourn after that first round. Doesn't age.
I mean, Birdring is like just a classic, right? I mean, you got to think like way back, like everybody was talking about how, Birdring's probably the best DPS player in the world, right? And how many players that we talked about back then are still playing now at a high level?
Profit?
Yeah. A handful, maybe, right? It just shows how impressive he's been. And also, I mean, he leaves for a little bit, right? Takes time off and then comes back.
Spectre gets force-fed his own medicine there as Decay makes good on the deflect. Lee Jae-gon is fine here. And Birdering adds yet another frag to the tally. This Boston Uprising team refuses to be held back from their rightful spot in our playoffs.
No, as they push out, they don't even want the point. Screw the point.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, they don't care.
Get it.
And they can still play. So we're not in a dive meta, which is where this team really shone, but they can still play Genji Lucio. And they can still really play around those bursts of speed, Decay diving in, finding resets.
Something interesting here as well is that they're not playing the Baptiste, they're actually playing an
What?
So the ability for the Nano Blade, you can nano the Orisa, becomes even like harder to take out. Oh, Biotic Grenade.
That's massive, but can he follow up with it? Yeah, the anti-heal's now expired, so Ultraviolet quickly gets that regenerative burst and gets his team back to full, and Decay finds himself biting off far more than he could chew. Lee Jae-gon hoping to waylay Spectre and go for a sound barrier after the fact this keeps Smurf standing, but for how much longer? The TP in the back, Lee Jae-gon reads it, still trying to keep Smurf standing, but everybody pushing in. An environmental kill here could be huge, but Lee Jae-gon has to wait out.
Nano.
Yeah, Lee Jae-gon though brought down by the Terror Surge. Smurf dies before he has the chance to use his. Decent stall for Boston, but that's all they'll get.
Yes, it looks like Izayaki here. He lands asleep, he will fall, but man, what a crazy turn of events there. As I think when Boston, you get that 5-player Biotic Grenade, it seemed like they just like oh my god, it's go time, right? Which typically that's correct, right? But when they TP into that small room, it makes it really difficult for Decay to do anything with the blade there.
Well, it's regenerative burst now, giving you a flat burst heal on top of the regen. It makes a big difference. Ultraviolet gets like all of his team with that, and very quickly, the Defiant aren't nearly as low as they were. Here's Birdring now with the overclock, hits a headshot instantly, another 4-player Violent Grave from Izayaki. That's dirty, but he gets traded out. It's Decay though, finding Hydron. Birdring getting involved, gets rid of that immortality field, and the Defiant are washed away.
Oh, it's Smurf and Decay want to try and take out, I believe, this is
it's too risky
over there, and it is Ultraviolet. This would be a nice stagger if they're able to get them, but nobody wants to contest that Bastion.
I like the call they make, worried that they might push into assault mode, just get mowed down by Spectra. They back off and play the longer angle, but Decay just gets sandwiched there. Amplification Matrix came up and Toronto flipped the point back midway through the fight.
Right, so that's the Amp Matrix used there for the Defiant. Think if you're Boston, there's no like panic really at all, right? The next fight's going to kick off here about even. I'm curious, do you think they end up nanoing? Do you nano Decay here to try and farm this blade? Do you nano Smurf
You'll
maybe
have a
to
blade.
take some space?
You'll have a blade anyway.
Yeah, you'll probably have the blade by then.
Pretty scary place to be against this Bastion. Oh, yep, they get Legion gone. They got pushed into the TP. That is absolute filth. I love that from Toronto. They know they have Boston on the back foot, and they just press a little harder.
And when the artillery is going off, you're like, man, this is like really early, right? Like what are you doing here? Like they're just kind of rotating around the side, but they TP right into it. They kind of push them back with a spear spin. That is really nice stuff there from the Defiant.
You still have a nano blade to work with here. The Terror Surge is an issue. Genji can get caught up in that if he doesn't have a dash available, when often he doesn't after he's gone in. He's looking for a reset there. There's no immortality field, obviously, on the side of the Uprising. Ultraviolet will have one, so there's a lot to answer the blade with, but it won't be quick enough because Hydron gets absolutely bent backwards. Still, that's the Terror Surge, but Spectra finds Decay with the damage that was required to bring a Nano Genji down. And Opener finds a couple big kills in this fight. This should be Toronto Defiant taking the round away. They had the answer to the Nano Blade in the end.
Yeah, and the Ana's interesting, right? You saw like one sequence, like a huge biotic grenade, right? Not really like a ton of, no, we saw one sleep, like probably another one that occurred during that, but didn't really get a ton of value with the Nano either. It's like a very like fully offensive play, right? Because you don't have that regenerative burst, you don't have that immortality field, right? It's very much feels like an all-in on the Genji.
Here's that sound barrier from Opener just before the blade came in, but Decay had no choice but to go for it. It's really unclear whether it would have had any impact anyway. Great response. We saw Boston really sitting on that Nano Blade combo for a while. Toronto could read that, and they had the answer.
Yeah, and we're back to the Baptiste here now for the Boston Uprising, which probably the better look, but look how fast the Defiant are going to get here with that sim.
Lee J gone already has to be careful. Energy Javelin hurled in his direction. Boston eventually going to want to make their way through this choke, but they can't really contest this high ground. The Defiant instead decide to take the fight to them. It doesn't work out though. Birdring finds Ultraviolet instantly with Spectra not finding any purchase. Bit of a mistake there for Toronto, not knowing what they were getting themselves into.
Man, I think Toronto knows exactly what they're getting into. I think it's just that if Spectra can't put down enough damage to really start to finish these players off, and it's really about Boston being able to kind of cycle through different abilities and cooldowns, kind of like deny some of that Bastion damage. If you're able to do that, then Boston can come out on top, right? You have like the deflect from the Genji, you have the spear spin of the Orisa, you have your immortality field, right? It's like kind of combination of all this stuff to deny that big damage coming in from the Bastion.
Birdring again. He is having a day already. Fantastic rail on Ultraviolet of all people. No immortality field is off the table as soon as the fight begins. That's an almost an auto win.
So, man, that is a Birdring on a little bit of a flank, right? We talk how good Soldier is on some of these flanks, right? You know, coming on with an off angle there on the Sojourn, especially when you have that railgun shot. I mean, just, you know, it ends a player's game before it even begins here. Is Defiant. I mean, you know, having to be the offensive team here, you know, running into them. See, Hydron seems like it's just a fake TP. Is they're going to just move up here towards that right-hand side, right on the platform.
Terror Surge here for Smoke. Oh my goodness, it's like the prologue of Dr. Stone. Absolutely petrified out of the fire of the Terror Surge, and they had nowhere to go.
I don't know what the prologue of Dr. Stone is, but
Dude, it's so good.
that ain't good. If that's what it's like, it ain't good. You could see that one coming though. As soon as they started to go off that staircase, like how you get pushed back a little bit. As soon as I saw, Smurf start to get charged up, I mean that was. I mean Opener gets so close to a little bit of an Ajax there.
Can you do something with this though? Kalush's found 3 kills. It's just Birdring and Lee J gone here against Orisa and 2 others, or at least Orisa Lucio. Oh my god, if he'd had that, I'd be bowing down right now. Nicely done by Kalush though. He's able to move back to the point, and this will mean Toronto can stop the Uprising climbing towards that 100.
Man, I mean, 2 big terror surges, right? I mean, typically the Orisa ultimate we see like, do some damage, but like not really like huge kill value. I mean, right there, it definitely pays off. Yeah, they're gonna try and it looked like they tried to TP maybe into that artillery yet again, but this time Boston backs up, kites it well.
Feel like they really wanted to force Boston into the artillery barrage. Smurf though would not be moved. So what are you working with here? Well, Birdring's always a threat at the start of these fights. You don't have any key ultimates, but a sound barrier isn't far away. You wait out this tank mode, get rid of the immortality builder, then it's go, go, go with Spectra down already. Again, the first pick in this fight. Kalush is looking a little bit scared as well as Smurf has found 2 and a sound barrier come up at the perfect moment. Boston, it didn't have to be subtle. It just had to be going forwards.
Yeah, as when this Boston Uprising has things clicking on all cylinders like they do here in map number 1, I mean, they are difficult to beat for any team. As Opener, that is, he takes his headset off, like he's ready to like be, I'm coming out. But maybe they keep him in. I thought he was pretty good on the Lucio there if they want to keep running it. Where really, I think this just speaks to how good Boston can be.
The 21 final blow game from Birdring, 6 deaths, Decay 14 and 8. That is pretty incredible stuff. Hydron has a quiet one, Matt. 5 final blows, 11 deaths. This is definitely not the context in which Hydron gets to have that skill expression that we saw at the tail end of the last outing for the Toronto Defiant. So not a map where they were able to really show their best here, but Birdring was on the other end of the spectrum. This guy, from start to finish, was sublime.
I mean, it's tough for Hydron, right? I mean, you're playing the sim, and then the other team's just so fast, like in your face, like any type of. Hydron really shines on that when he's on the Widowmaker, the Sojourner, or something that he can really start to just like flex that mechanical skill. Not as much like on the sim, right? It's a little bit harder to do.
Yeah, a lot of focus here is on Spectra, being able to have this massive burst damage at the start of each fight, work really effectively through that amplification matrix. But quite often, Spectra's getting picked off very early. The poke damage from the Sojourn is very, very difficult. Spectra enters many of these fights at like half HP. This is the double Terror Surge fight here. You're never getting out of that. Getting both supports of that Terror Surge is beautiful.
I mean, that is really difficult to get out of the way. As the pick here for the Defiant is Numbani, so I do wonder if we see Sir Majid come back.
Yeah, look, it's quite possible. I think we saw Open to put the headset back on, but looking at the lobby, it looks like Majid might be getting brought back in here. There's a bunch of questions. I think we're moving away from the Echo meta, but that's definitely a hero Spectra has often preferred to play. A lot of options for both teams on Numbani. So worth bearing in mind, it's a Toronto Defiant pick, so they've got to have something planned. But so far, on a fundamental level, the Boston Uprising, in my estimation, have been going from strength to strength. They're handling this aggressive play from the Toronto Defiant really well. They see them coming, Matt. Quite a few times they see TPs in from Toronto and they're able to win the fights anyway.
Yeah, just really strong play overall from the Boston Uprising, where if they see that the Illari pick is going to come in here on Numbani, I expect that they have some stuff cooked up to deal with that.
Yeah, stick around for that. There might be up the substitutions and just the Majid one as well, but I'll keep you on your toes for that one. It is 1-0 in this series. Lijiang Tower goes the way of the Boston Uprising, who believe they've earned their spot in the playoffs already. We'll have to see them prove it. Stick around.
winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself.
You gon' need 100 men, 100 scopes, 100 cans, just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, MC's doing the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 pence. Yeah, what I supply is always in demand. The throne is mine, take that. It ain't a high five, got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know putting fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they been next to me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling? I showed them the jig is up again.
Well, you know what they say, folks. A bird in the hand is worth 10 on the bench. And this guy has made an instant impact. As we went out onto Lijiang Tower, the Sojourn play absolutely top tier.
Yeah, I mean, he was really awesome there in map number 1, playing a hero that we see like sporadically now. I know we used to see a ton of, but 21 final blows there for Birdring. I mean, huge kill participation. What in the world do we got going on here?
Wow.
So we got Surmajet coming in. Pretty normal here. I know probably going to come in, play the Illari. Twilight will come in here for Lee gone. So no Lucio option. This tells you double flex support. And then Kalios in. Johnny inadvertently threw some shade at Kalios and Decay there on the pre-show.
Well,
now they both get to prove him wrong.
Not wrong in the sense that neither have won championships yet, but they're the only players on this roster to be able to claim that. This makes me think that while we may not see a D.Va mirror, we might see our attacking teams play it. Well, we actually saw the Vancouver Titans go with this kind of strategy, and Punk made it work really effectively in what at the time was a very competitive map. I think we might see Illari here from Twilight. Illari, Baptiste. I mean, it's a little bit interesting, I guess, with the D.Va. You can play Ana with the D.Va if you just want to make sure that she can be healed constantly, but Margit obviously telegraphs to us that, yeah, we should expect to see that more recent hero hit the field. And I mean, Twilight, that's a fun prospect, right? Twilight Liari. I'm excited if we get that. Is that an echo? Okay. All right.
So
the Kalios, yeah, I didn't think Kalios would play D.Va if at all on defense. It's the Sigma on attack for Boston is also on the table as well.
Well, I mean, Kalios on defense playing the Orisa is like I wonder if this is more of like an offensive substitution. I would say.
I think it has to be, Matt. Because again, if you're trying to grind with the Orisa on the attacking side, it can be really hard to do. I do think we'll see something different from Kalios. Maybe a Sigma if you want to play this poke-oriented setup. Okay, so Twilight actually is on the Ana. It's Izayaki on the Illari.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to see, the Sigma. Like, that's kind of like why you would bring, Kalios in. But
yeah, Sigma or D.Va.
We'll see his reason.
All right, Izayaki's healing pylon already removed here. Hydra able to snipe that out. Kaluja Kalios exchanging pleasantries here as Spectra goes a little low. Birdring more than happy to wrap around via Coast. You can see that Twilight's head's being kept down by Spectra.
Kalios gets healed up there from Izayaki. He takes a little bit of a shot here. It looks like a Hydron on the side. Is a Hydron. We've seen him take these like off angles, right? Time and time again. Oh, is he gonna be able to keep him alive?
He needs a pylon.
No.
Just doesn't have enough throughput there with that right click, Matt. Spectra just sitting out in that immortality field too.
And I do like kind of what they did here, Boston, where, Hydron is actually like made like a living on this map. I feel like every time we've seen it, where he's like got on these long flanks on the soldier, but they actually play the soldier themselves and just kind of like mirror it, right? Where, he tries to go under the bridge and go wrap around, but Birdring is right there to meet him.
Yeah, we've seen Hydron on defense as well, still playing the soldier and going these really wide flanks. Sometimes it works out if he wins in the 1 versus 1, which is, again, in this matchup, absolutely not guaranteed. But I feel like the Defiant really need him to be able to do this with regularity, otherwise a big part of their strategy kind of falls over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, shot from the Illari there. closer mid-jet, a little bit behind Izayaki in terms of ult, but I assume it's because Izayaki doing a ton of healing. That's just the Captive Sun just fired into a room where there's a few players.
I like that. It's really just to get rid of Hydron, right? Even if he's going to play around that biotic field, just to be able to burst the soldier down and have, a soldier gap, so to speak, is a big deal. They lose Izayaki on the back end there to a focusing beam from Spectra, but job done for the Uprising. They'll just have to give a little bit of ground here without the Eliari.
Yeah, you still have the healing pylon up, and Twilight ends up using the nano there, I believe, on the Decay. Decay is on the flank there on the backside. This is the Captive Sun from Jed. Do you connect with anything there?
No detonations on it at the very least here. Martin trying to back away here as Spectra's caught by an Energy Javelin. Not a good result, but Kaluj catches Birdring inside the Gravitic Flux. Izayaki, yeah, he's looking towards Kalios right now, who will be able to stay alive under that Terror Surge durability. But there's the question of dealing with Kaluj, who's on the cart, sitting pretty.
Kalios gets 3 in this fight, by the way. He actually killed Spectra with a spear at the beginning, and then it gets both supports, but you still have Kaluj here, just kind of like alive, moving the payload. Looks like Izayaki off to the side.
That's the issue for me, Matt.
Weird.
Yeah. Look, I appreciate what Kalios is doing off screen there, but Kaluj is the problem. He's the one that's really anchoring that cart. Decay, I like the duplication here. This will buy you some time. But you're not as durable as your opposite number. The DV here is also an interesting decision. Accretion there, swings wide. Now pressure on that Diva mech. It's going to be a nano for Kalios here to try and hang around. They don't have Izayaki, so Twilight is trying to do his best here on this Ana. But the Kaluj shield makes it hard sometimes for Twilight to interact into the fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is way more natural for the Defiant to play than the Uprising, right? In terms of like what we've kind of like expect from these two teams. So to see Boston, struggling a little bit here on defense, not too surprising. Where Defiant, I mean, they are so good at these types of comps.
Nicely done by Izayaki. This is a really common position to play from as Liari. You just have the turrets up there. You can punish anyone who's trying to wrap around. You can tag team with one of your DPS, as Birdwing can just return for heals. Where is Kalios? What is he doing?
I mean,
He's on the high
I haven't seen him like in a while.
Well, he's opting out of like holding the front line quite often against Kaluj. He was on the high ground at one point there. Most of the fight was happening away from the cart, so that's fine, I suppose. It's just a different approach.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just trying to like contest from the high ground, like once the cart kind of like wraps that corner, but it's still an opportunity for the Uprising to get a hold. Mentioned it's kind of been a little sideways this far, but still, I mean, this last point's so difficult to take.
Yeah, and getting rid of the Illari turret is hard to do. The defensive Illari turret that is almost always going to be very well protected. I would have thought, Kalios would want to take the fight against Kaluj, but I think he's trying to make sure that there's no like soldier from the high ground or Illari from the high ground that can't be contested.
Yeah, I mean, maybe giving a better line of sight to Twilight, denying maybe that soldier 76 high ground angle.
What is this?
Oh, that was
Birdring
visor as well.
Yeah, charges through a Sigma barrier into a Captive Sun. And even with the damage reduction afforded him by Nano Boost, he gets absolutely dominated.
Yeah, I don't love that play. Hydron sees a few players coming out of spawn, actually going to get around, get rid of that turret. That's huge.
Yeah, like we said, that's one of the hardest things to remove here from the defensive side.
Nice helix. He connects like some splash damage on the second player.
It's a lot of heal pressure. Oh, Bionator Hydron, Captive Sun follow-up. Hydron is tagged by that, but will there be follow-up damage? Izayaki was looking for it, but this tree is going to make it impossible to see where he's going. Decay found Spectra, but they've lost Twilight here, so Izayaki's on deck for all of the healing, and he's caught inside the Gravitic Flux.
He's gonna live though. I mean, they're gonna get the healing pylon down, but the cart moving dangerously close to the end.
And look, Kaluj peeking just around the corner slowly, trying to get rid of that pylon. He gets it now. That Hydron has attack visor. I think he spots Birdring back behind him, but he can't bother dealing with it right now. Hydron stunned briefly there, maybe an energy javelin. It's unclear. Either way, a lot of pressure now on Kalios and not enough healing for him, but Decay's going to work. Got Ultraviolet, but eventually both those players are down, and now it's Twilight and Izayaki trying to hold on. The Nano didn't come quite in time, and the Defiant will finish the map with just under 90 seconds to play.
Yeah, minute 25 on the clock here for the Defiant. Is I'm still like, I understand, you know, the support switch. I'm still, you know, maybe it's something on the offensive side we'll have to see. I know why Kalios coming on in.
We're going to see it here then, if at all. Kalush, we know he will pick Sigma whenever possible. Numbani not a traditional map for that, but we've seen him make it work pretty effectively as he slowly scaled up his control on the attacking side.
But
making good use of Hydron's flanking.
But if you were, let's say, Boston, right, and you're going to match, like, hey, you know what, on offense, we're going to match Sigma and Sigma, like, don't you feel it's fine to match it on the defensive side of things as well?
Potentially. Potentially. If we get Orisa back-to-back here, that obviously raises a question about the substitution. 100%.
Yeah. Because, like, Smurf just played Orisa. We were pretty happy with that. You know, so maybe it's for, you know, like there's like a diva angle maybe they want here at times, like we just saw. Maybe there's another option, but that one's got me a little bit more curious than kind of the support switch. The support switch makes some sense for Boston.
Kalios is, I mean, this is something we observed earlier on in his career. I think, look, known, at least that's how we knew him, as pretty hot-headed, very aggressive player. That doesn't seem to have changed. Some of these Orisa fights, like he is in there trying to take fights over on his own. I want to reference that one fight where he got 3 kills, but he didn't really deal with Kalush, who was able just to keep pushing a card up.
No, and here on offense, they'll actually have Birdring play the Bastion. So, you know, Bastion with it, they're not going to play the Illari, they're going to play a Baptiste Ana here.
We still have the Echo for Decay, which is fine. I love the energy javelin. Now Kalush is knocked to the low ground. So now he can really set Birdring up for a strong position. That could have been an environmental kill if not for the shield in the way. Kalios now forcing Spectra to play inside the hallway, so really no Echo value for the time being. Spectra has to find another way to be useful.
Yes, they want to get rid of that shield right now. It makes it way harder for Kalush to stand here and fight against this Bash. As Hydron takes a large chunk of damage there.
Great stickies though.
It looks like he feels like he needs to get to the point to try and touch me here. Just runs out. Yeah, just gives up his life.
Yeah, Birdring playing that high ground. Just gets hit by some long-range stickies from Spectra there. Kalush is healthy enough, but he's cycling that shield pretty desperately. Izayaki low, nice. It's from behind. I don't think that he was ready for that at all, as Marjet appears now, finds himself a couple of kills, wants to find Twilight, but I think job done well and truly for the Illari.
And it does feel like that maybe Kalios is like the more aggressive out of, you know, him and Smurf. I would say too, is like he's no fear, just pushing forward, just trying to take that space, trying to get Birdring set up on the high ground, and you know it does some damage, but you know not like the big impact that we originally had thought.
Toronto looking like much more of a contender in this series, Matt, than maybe they did on Lijiang Tower. They're looking like the real deal, playing this setup that really puts so many of their members in power positions, in comfort roles. Marjet going for it, Captive Sun looking for Twilight. How ironic. He will be brought down by the stickies now, and Marjet will linger as he'll have flight through the duration of that ultimate.
Man, this has been all Defiant. See now, everybody just kind of caught up here in the high ground. And this has not been ideal here.
No, but this is why Toronto are finding success now. This is why they're beating the heck out of these mid-allegations in this current metagame. This is perfect for them.
Sick, right?
Kalios here.
Is the type of Kalios.
Like, it's bizarre to me, and he finds success. He gets nanoed now. Hydra on that low ground getting taken down. Kalios is just unpredictable for the Defiant. They were not ready for that.
Yeah, but like, who is even in position here to follow this up? Oh, well, wait, what happened? The duplicate of, you know, Birdring, well, down in the low ground, you have Decay up here in the high ground, so maybe there is the follow-up, is the Kalios just gets it nano, just pushes on forward, you know, even though he loses life, kills a few players in the process, and then everybody off the spawn comes back, and that's how you take this first point.
I mean, none of that last fight was remotely expected, especially how strong Toronto looked. We had Spectra duplicating an Orisa, which can't be an optimal choice, but it felt like the Defiant felt like they were looking in a strong position. Twilight got hit by that Captive Sun early and got picked off, so they went for it. It blew up in their face.
I feel like the Uprising need to make up time here, like, you know, in this part of the map, right? 1:25. This is where Hydron is his best, right?
The Hydron flank.
Long flanks.
Twilight being pressured heavily here, but a Biotic Grenade now will force Hydra to play a little slower from this position. The 1v1, I mean, I don't fancy myself against Twilight, but Hydron's a different machine. Twilight will just
Twilight has
get
no
away.
problem trying to fight this, it seems like, as well.
Maybe Birdwing could have used the Ana, though. Hydron drawing Twilight out of the fight, maybe allowing Kalush to just bowl over the Bastion. Now things looking a little bit dicey for Boston. Kalush might be sleeping, but that's fine. Okay, Captive Sun. Margin won't commit to that small room as Kalios is already brought down by Spectra's focusing beam, and Izayaki gets nanoed, by the way. Not sure what the plan was there.
Yeah, and that was the artillery there towards the end from Birdwing, so don't have that. Maybe there's is there like a switch or is there a swap you're thinking up here if you're the Boston Uprising? No, it looks like they'll actually just kind of, yeah, Birdwing's going to go over and play the 76. So this will help, you know, you don't want Twilight to be the one who's got to like mark Hydron on the other side, right? Let Birdwing do it.
How much I wonder does the calling structure change for this team when Kalios and Twilight get rotated in? Because the way that Boston are playing is very chaotic, right? Trying to flip fights, using ultimates in shorthanded scenarios to just kind of win, and sometimes actually succeeding in that endeavor.
It's crazy because you know, when you think of Boston, and if you're going to play like play a fast, frenetic pace for them,
Tracer!
Kind of like the one who does that crazy pace is Lee J. Gon, right? To see them kind of go to this, and Lee J. Gon is the instigator of the chaos is wild. Yeah, we got a Tracer here now. Tracer with a Disney of Kariko here for Twilight. This is, I can't imagine Boston came into this map like thinking this is what they were going to play, right? It seems like maybe kind of they, you know, had an idea with the Bastion stuff. Maybe, you know, Kalios comes in, picks up like a Sigma or Diva at some point, but it's kind of gotten, you know, all over the place.
Decay getting brought down by Hydron there. Presumably Twilight switching to the Kiriko to assist Decay in some senses. We're going to try and goon squad some of these backliners. Hydron sets up that, interesting, that Biotic field, but opts not to pressure as the Boston Uprising all fall back towards their spawn. The Defiant have to be happy enough with it. Well, it actually is, but there's 30 seconds left in the round. So any inch of real estate you get for free, I'm sure you're taking.
That is a Kasune rush here through like this hallway that like just like your Tracers running through, and then I think there's also an Ant Matrix going down at the spawn side. This has been a wild half.
Kalush finds Kaligos. That's the biggest kill of the last couple of moments. Now with the Ant Matrix in play, yeah, it's all too easy for Marjed to slam Decay with a body shot as he comes forward, and nothing the Tracer can do about it there. What a weird round, but it looks like the Toronto Defiant have this one wrapped up. Twilight's already used his swift step. Kalios gets brought down before he can find value from the power block, and we'll see the zoning here on Izayaki as they try to keep him away from the cart. Okay, that was a map of Overwatch, for sure.
I cannot imagine that went as intended there for the Boston Uprising, as you know, you make some subs after, you know, map number 1 where you looked pretty strong. You sub in Kalios to play the same kind of hero that we just saw, you know, Smurf play, and we know that Smurf can play at a high level. And then in terms of supports, like just a really odd, you know, map there for the Boston Uprising. But hey, Toronto looks great. Bring in Sir Majed, you know, play that Illari. This is the style that we know them for, you know, really throughout like this, you know, second part of this, you know, half of the season, right? So. Being able to see them come in, take advantage of, you know, what Boston Uprising is trying to do in a big way, gives them some momentum going to the next map.
Distinctive style for the Toronto Defiant, hailed by some as greedy, really pays off. It looks fantastic here. The Boston Uprising, at no point do they really seem to stop and collect themselves on this attack. They're constantly pushing. It's very chaotic gameplay. They're challenging one-on-ones, 2v2s, 1v2s to try and find success. There's no protocol with how their ultimates are being used. They're being used at will to try and find these small advantages that they hope they or a teammate can exploit into greater ones. Hard to follow here. Very chaotic, but we see Toronto Defiant kind of thrive under those circumstances, Matt. Suravasa will lend to that style of play for our third map.
Man, and like that play, you know, that map was all over the place. I'm curious, like, does Boston, you know, I have to imagine they kind of go back and revert to some of the stuff that, you know, maybe the lineup they had in map number 1. I think Toronto, you think about what even Scrimmage did, we've seen them run non-Lucio comms here on Flashpoint with some success.
Yep, some teams been able to get away with it without that Lucio speed. Curious to see if that's the plan here for the Toronto Defiant. They definitely look like they're ready to stand up to the Uprising in this match. It's one apiece in our qualifier game for the playoffs. Don't go too far. More to come from this match.
cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the. Wake up, get out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the.
Yeah, I hear him chatting the noise. And stop for the talking. Like fire on the pine. If you wanna touch Mount Peace, use caution.
Well, as a composition at the Toronto Defiant, really seeing the only ones that really get it. But this guy's got the grind set down to a science. It's Sigma for Kaluj on Numbani, and the numbers, Matt, they just don't lie.
I mean, he wasn't even really challenged that hard, was he? I mean, he had a phenomenal game, and I think Kaluj is, he talks about Sigma being one of his best, if not his best hero. Only 2 deaths, does a nice job in terms of final blows with good amounts of hero damage, but really, I mean, I thought it was just like a little bit of an outclassing there on that map from the Toronto Defiant.
I mean, by not challenged, you mean that Kalios was trying to fight his backline constantly and just letting him do whatever the heck he wanted? Because that's what it appeared to be, especially as we saw the Defiant attack in that second phase of the map where, Kalios is just, knocking heads together, finds 3 kills in the backline. We're thinking, it's excellent. Okay, they're in a great spot. Wait a minute. Kalush is full health on the cart, and that one other Boston player was cowering sort of in his shadow as he continued to advance.
So now Boston just goes back to the original lineup like nothing ever happened. Like, Man in Black, where they just
doesn't look like anything to me.
Yep, nothing happened there.
Give me old Bernard treatment, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, we'll see now. The one thing to kind of probably look at here, which will be quite interesting, is that Toronto probably not going to run the Lucio, where you will see Lucio on the other side of things. So we'll see if that determines like how many fights a team can get and movement around the map. But
if you've watched the Toronto Defiant play Flashpoint in general, you'd know that Hydron loves to flank far and wide and alone. That's something you want to be aware of. Playing a hero that can match him, whether it's mirroring or maybe trying to find a counter pick, is really important.
He's just lurking.
Yeah, always. And he just does it over and over again. That's his directive, is to keep trying to find a way to wrap around away from the rest of his team, find a kill, just a kill, that's more than enough. Or draw a support out of position, pressure an immortality field that goes for little value. Even those less tangible aspects can give you a fight win on their own.
I mean, it's typically super effective, right? Interesting here for Boston. So Izayaki will play Ana, so they won't have that Baptiste, they won't have that immortality field, but they'll actually play the soldier with the Genji here.
So you're again investing in the nano blades here, which is, we've seen like the Washington Justice don't bother with it, right? They still have the Baptiste, right? Because they still value the immortality field, and the Genji can get those big blades anyway. No one's answering Hydron's flank right now. He's doing what he wants.
No. Yeah. And it's enough damage to, kind of contribute to a kill that goes down on the other side. But, Spectre does fall right after that. Do you need... So, the Ana, I think, is really good at obviously healing the Genji at range, right? But with no support ultimate on the other side, I don't know how much you need that Nano, right? Like, is the Nano, more valuable even in the hands of the 76? Or would you rather even just, ditch the Nano and have the immortality field? I think it's...
Probably. It does mean that you can force blades a bit easier, right? You don't have to have things line up for you perfectly. You can actually walk at people to some degree. Or close the gap. But Hydron, here's my problem. If you aren't ready to answer Hydron's flank on this map, have you prepared for this team at all?
Look at this. I mean, oh, and he's going to get out. So that's a nano used right there to just try and hunt down Sir Majid, but who's on the flank there with Hydron.
I hate it. Just so much. Look, I mean...
I can't say I love it. No, I don't know if I hate it yet.
Well, the execution can make a difference. It can be the difference between hate and love there, I suspect. But what remains to be the case is Hydron is doing this a lot of the time. I mean, Birdring might not be his playstyle. He just may not prefer to do this, but Hydron is going to draw you out of position whether you like it or not. If not Birdring, someone more crucial to the overall team fight objective. And Birdring's just dead here.
Yeah, I mean, typically it's been Hydron, I think, who's been getting the better number. And then not even get on and get a touch.
This team is just better on Flashpoint. The Toronto Defiant are just a better team in this kind of setup here. And look, the Boston Uprising, I'm sure they prepare for this game, but I don't think they have a ironclad approach to dealing with Hydron.
And I mean, look at this. I mean, where the next point pops up, right? It's a little bit closer to the Defiant in terms of where the last point was. They don't really have any kind of casualties towards the end. And this... Hydron kind of working towards the middle of the map, getting really close to Birdring.
I love the Torb as well. This keeps Decay in check in a big way, and also dissuades flanks, or at least gives you early warning of them to quite a great degree. It also punishes Smurf, who has to walk over Molten Core in some of these fights. I don't want any of that smoke, dude. Just a good comp from Toronto. Here's the Nano Blade, though.
Here's the Nano Blade.
If this doesn't work, then the whole premise of your team comp is pointless. So Decay makes it work, though, big time. There was obviously a sound barrier employed by Lee J. Gone in that fight, but Toronto used plenty of their ultimates as well. We, from Decay's perspective, don't see them all go off, but the Uprising get the result. We'll have a cap eventually.
Yeah, just Kalush trying to extend this one a little bit longer. So what? Captive Sun there. That is a Molten Core used by Spectra, Terra Surge as well. So, few of those ultimates kind of just thrown in there. Nano used on the side of the Uprising and sound barriers also double support ult. But, you know, high
It's a great result.
Angle. Yeah, I mean, really good for Boss. I mean, they needed
This isn't the current point. This isn't the point we're contesting.
Yeah.
This was the point where we just... you know what I mean? Like, they're really taking the flank battle to another level. But this is maybe Birdering evolving in his understanding of how much it really takes to shut Hydron down. And even that, he can't get it done. Decay, no beautiful work. Those are 2 melee kills? Sorry? Guys slapping people around. All right.
It's probably the end of the dash with like the melee at the end of the dash. It's what gets the final blow, finishes them off. There is a player stuck inside the Terror Surge.
Okay, so Kaluj opts to go for a back cap. Yeah, see, back caps there as the Boston Uprising took their time regrouping. Look, I mean, it's very scary how quickly percentage ticks up on flashpoints. So even just a couple moments there can be a big difference maker. We have an air matrix here, most of it for healing Kaluj, but Lee Jae Gon there gets a little too close, and Toronto might be able to flip things back within this window. No pun intended.
Yeah, absolutely is. Point now still sits in favor of the Defiant. Is man, you know, these like awkward angles there from Hydron, they look really, you know, when you look at like the overhead mini map, like obviously now looking at it like right now, you just see how far away they are from like the objective, which is so bizarre. Like Overwatch, right? You typically never play at this distance, but Flashpoint seems to be the way to go.
Birdering has the tack now. He's beats out Hydron. Yeah, I mean, finally getting the edge there is big. Yeah, Nanoblade, that'll do it. Boston peak at just the right time in this fight, and Decay, yeah, chef's kiss with that blade. And so there's the question, right? Do you need the nano boost for the blade if there's no support ultimates? Maybe not, but Decay doesn't have to worry about randomly getting shot in the face and having his blade interrupted.
No, I don't think there's an opportunity to challenge this yet again. So it's going to be the Boston Uprising taking that flashpoint. Is see which one pops up. Is well, lucky for Boston, it's like right in their backyard, so to speak. So coming into the I think your point, like, you know, the nano I think is like for safety, right? Not get hit with like you know something in the face like a Helix rocket or whatnot on the way in. Is Birdring's starting to come alive and, you know, pick up on these angles that Hydron's taking, right? Kind of get a good job in terms of like where the pathing is.
He has to get back into the fight when he's needed, though. Obviously, he's not. Decay was able to find all the kills himself, deflects that last shot straight back at Mudhead's dome. And the Genji composition really working out here for Boston. Still Toronto get to the point first, but it's just Hydron who probably won't be hanging around for very long.
Yeah, this will be the point for Boston Uprising, and I think the real thing is like getting these kills on a Hydron, right? And when they're able to get those kills on a Hydron, like he's the one playing those off angles, and then all of a sudden now it's the unanswered, you know, Birdring coming in right on an off angle, being able to put down damage, and there's nothing the Defiant can do about that.
Attack visor here for Hydron. He's wrapping around already, looking for Birdring though. Needs to clear a lot of these angles. Nothing Lee Jae Gon could have done there though. Terror Surge coming out, soaking up a lot of this damage from Hydron, who respectfully stays out of the radius. But Smurf gets very little for that, as there was an immortality field in play from Ultraviolet. Toronto finally have a chance to get even on this point.
Yeah, and I see where Birdring is playing. It looks like he's just in hiding maybe until the rest of his team gets back and like starts up a fight.
He flew out to Minsk. He's getting out of the heat.
I wonder if you consider just nanoing Birdring here, maybe just allowing him to try and get a pick. I mean, he's been pretty good the last few fights.
It's probably too big an investment to just secure a pick. Probably feel like he can do that, especially if Decay is attracting enough attention. Just nanoing Decay without a blade, he can build one. He can actually build one in this fight to kill zone. That's what we need. Smurf's already gone down. Decay thinks better of it now. Having lost their front liner, it looks like the Uprising are looking to reset, but they do not want to get staggered here.
No, and Toronto wants to actually push up and out to try and prevent them from you know, getting out with their lives, so to speak. As it looks like Spectre just maybe goes back here. It's on the turret to just defend the mini, also kind of shoot across towards the point. They have to know Birdring's coming in with this. Decay's coming in with this blade.
They got Izayaki early. Spectre, how did he find him? Just a left click across the map. Well, that's the point. No way you're coming back from that one. I was waiting to see the no nano blade against no support ults to see if it was, you know, really going to be enough. Guess not.
they're kind of fortunate though there in a way, Boston. Like, Decay had to be seconds away from popping Blade, right? I mean, if you pop Blade there, it would have felt terrible, you know, considering you lose 2 players right away. I mean, maybe miraculously pull the fight out, but I mean, that would have felt really bad to lose that fight, you know, investing the Blade there.
Birdring again is on the flank. A very wide one here. Oh, what a great spot to be. He sees Captive Sun, though. This could end him, but Margin's not looking at him at all. He'll have attack visor. He'll be demanding attention now. Boston use everything, essentially, to win this first fight.
Yes. I mean, they have Birdring set up on a flank, right? They run in with Sound Barrier, Pop Visor, and Blade at the same time. And Toronto's just like, oh, well, all right. Like, I guess if you're going to just use
I don't know
all
how
that,
I feel about that.
We'll just stand there and take it, right?
Yeah, no need to...
I mean, it sets himself up poorly for, you know, the next few fights.
I guess it all hinges on how this next fight goes. If Toronto get to flip it back pretty quickly, then it feels awful. Oh, that's trouble! Hydron whips around, Decay there with the deflect. Okay, can trade it out, but Lee Jae Gon is down. Kaluj afflicted by the Bionade here, but healthy enough and will have the durability of Terra Surge to rely on should he need it. He doesn't.
Oh, we don't actually see it, but, you know, after Hydron gets that first kill, Decay obviously takes him out, like, goes in for him deep, and somehow Sermaged is able to take out Decay and Lee Jae Gon there. Gets both of those players who kind of, like, pushed it to make a play, so the Ilaria, you know, the one for the Defiant, who Sermaged's been playing for, you know, a few weeks now, has been playing phenomenally, really paying off here in these, you know, second and third map.
Only 3 final blows to 4 deaths for Margin on this map, but they've been crucial kills when they've come up. Decay going in with the nano here. Play very aggressive, very in your face, brawl style Genji. The Immortality field from Ultraviolet is down, but Decay's nano is also finished. Smurf is out of the picture. Kalush is still standing. This is not a good sign for the Boston Uprising. And Decay, yeah, lacking options. Hydron wins the flank as well. Toronto are going to keep accruing this progress.
Yeah, they're able to keep Kalush alive. Even when he gets hit with that biotic grenade, he just backs up around the corner, and there's just nobody that's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with him on the point. As he's pushed up, Smurf is now on the Jungle Queen.
Izayaki, he's in trouble. We have a Fortify here from Kalush, so we can shrug off anything that comes his way. Sound Barrier mere seconds away from Lee Jae Gon, but a Captive Sun coming on to Smurf. This is dangerous. Lee Jae Gon gets the Sound Barrier off, but Birdring is very low on the flank. Decay Blade, he's going to go for it now. Smurf wins out the fight. He switched to Jungle Queen and got rid of Spectra to start it off. It's a 1-for-1. Kalush still stands tall for the time being when Hydron falls in the flank battle. Martin now has to stand up. Getting Lee Jae Gon is a good start, but Smurf is still an issue. He swings. Izayaki now falls. Kalush just ignores Smurf and goes for his backline, and now Smurf is on his own. There's nothing Boston can do. The Toronto Defiant put themselves to qualification point.
I mean, just tremendous support play at the end from Ultraviolet and Sermaged being able to just stay alive long enough, keep Kalush. I mean, how difficult is the Orisa to get off of the point? And they have that Ant Matrix at the end to seal the deal. Dude, I mean, the first match was really close. I mean, the control could have been, you know, up, considering, I mean, things could have been over at this point where, you know, that sometimes those substitutions, man, like you bring him in for map number 2 and, you know, things go sideways there. It gives Toronto just life in this series, right? And they win Flashpoint to go up 2-1.
You see their faces, man. Frustrating times for the Boston Uprising, who probably would have felt that they should already be in the playoffs realistically. They were so close to that upper echelon of teams through the regular season. But now they're encountering a team on the rise. Toronto Defiant are well positioned to make their unique brand of Overwatch work. And they are working Boston out of this series map by map. Boston have to stabilize.
Yeah, and, you know, Boston, I thought, put up a pretty good fight in this one. Yeah, that's the clip that I was talking about. Where, yeah, after Hydron falls, you actually had Sermaged in the feed. I was like, how in the world, like, just plucks Lee Jae got out of the sky? I mean,
Aim-labs. She's aim-labs, baby.
Sick stuff, man.
Now Smurf getting punished here towards the end. Kaluji ignores Smurf, goes after Izayaki. It was utter disarray. Now how about this? We have a Colosseo pick for push. This is a rare occurrence indeed. And one must hope that the Uprising have something special planned. Otherwise they are headed for the lower bracket. The Uprising fans at their watch party surely hoping they can turn it around. You too can host your very own watch party during our playoffs, by the way. You can sign up at overwatchleague.com/co-streaming. Just turn my mic down and give your thoughts over the matches as they happen at our playoffs in Toronto. It's going to be a good time, but we've got two teams vying for the first spot out of play-ins to be there. And so far, the would-be home team have taken it to match point. Hydron versus Birdring. The battle of flanking soldiers resolves with a Toronto victory.
I mean, he is the lurk king on Suravasa, Hydron. I mean, just taking these like off angles, playing so far away, coming in from the side. I mean, really just actually Birdring played quite well, considering like this is not a style that is easy to kind of like go toe to toe up against. But and just when they played this type of style, and then also like you can have this like Torbjorn and play a little bit bunkerish on the other side, becomes very difficult to play against.
Absolutely. And on multiple occasions there, we saw Hydron and Birdring looking for each other specifically. And we mentioned, okay, if the soldiers aren't fighting each other, sometimes they're trying to draw other people out of position. We saw Decay even drawn out to try and fight Hydron after he beats Birdring by using that tack visor. He's successful, but then Margin goes and finds 2 kills. So now we're dealing with individuals taking over these fights on their own. It's Hydron and then it's Margin. That's the way Toronto want to play. They want to use their individuals to their fullest. Spectra having his fair share of moments here. Kaluj looking mighty impactful, especially on that Numbani map. This is the time for this style. And the Toronto Defiant are looking to take advantage.
Yeah, as looks like there are no subs for either team now coming in here for Coliseum. I wonder what the Defiant, they'll play the Illari-based composition, right? Just like, what do you run in terms of DPS? Like, I don't think the Echo is necessarily good here on Coliseum. Or maybe you run like, do you play some kind of like, you know, Genji? Do you play like a Sojourn type of like style? I think there's a few options here for Toronto, which I'm more curious what they decide to play.
Still probably, I mean, you can still play a bunch of the Bastion alongside the Orisa here, right? There's no reason why you can't. It's especially effective at the beginning of this map, right? While we're in fairly neutral territory through the outer ring of the Coliseum itself. I mean, I think Genji's fine for Decay to bring in. I'm looking at the backline here. I think, you know, that's where some of my questions have been. We've seen a lot invested in Decay via the use of Ana over these last couple of maps, where it could have been Baptiste and it could have been Immortality Field, it could have been Amplification Matrix, right? Feels like maybe there's some points of value being lost out on by the Uprising by not just slamming the BAP and setting up Smurf for success.
Yeah, I mean, it makes Smurf life way harder. Like, granted, you get the Nano, you get the Blade, right? Like, you know, typically it pops off, right? But does it put the overall team in a better spot for success? I'm not entirely sure. I think having that Immortality Field for the Orisa, who's pretty sturdy as it is, right, to extend that lifespan on the objective and in different types of areas on the map, I think is pretty strong.
I guess one of the issues for Decay playing Genji against Toronto style is that Toronto are not stacking their supports in remotely the same manner. So Decay might struggle to get more than 1 kill per blade with how dispersed the Defiant choose to play. So the Nano is an extra, I don't know, layer of protection, a contingency for the Genji to maybe play a little bit more aggressively than you otherwise would be able to be. That's just really a guess here because, you know, everyone needs to figure out how to play against the Toronto style. It's not going to work for everyone. We've seen Boston deal with London's weird style, right? This is a team that can adapt, that can read the game and make changes on the fly. So far, though, and as far as Suravasa is concerned, they were unable to do it where it really counted. They got a chance here on Colosseo. They must win this map.
And I think even for the Defiant, like, you know, you don't win this map, you don't win this series, right? You've shown that you can play multiple different styles of play. You know, like you play the Illari with Jidin, you can bring an opener, play some Lucio-based compositions. Also thinking back, how funny would it be that you picked Defiant with me, right? Did you pick Defiant with me? I wasn't sure.
Did I even get to pick? I felt.
I think
not sure.
You just sided with me, but it's funny how you know the Deska said Jake is going to be wrong. You know, and why would you pick wrong? And then potentially Jake being correct and them all be wrong.
I mean, yeah, in as far as the Des being wrong about things, that is potentially going to be funny if it plays out that way. I love the Torb
Jake should
here.
have felt much better when I picked the Defiant, because I don't think I've ever gotten a prediction wrong.
No, probably not. I don't have the numbers in front of me, Matt, but you're probably right. But here,
they're
we
close
get
to 100.
we get to play a Suravasa-esque flanking approach by Hydron. Can Decay and Birdring
They
match
play
that?
the same thing, right?
Yeah.
They're like,
But
screw it, let's just run it back.
you also have the Torbjorn to discourage a flank from Decay here. You're playing Izzyaki on Baptiste, though, so that's a major point of difference. You do not have Nano for your Genji.
Oh, Birdring of the railgun shot that takes a Super Jet at range. I mean, that is a huge opening pick. Can you push the bot here? Can you like just kind of like push past and
Yes.
like, you know, challenge this?
Hydron's out of position, so you can definitely push into the front line of the Defiant here. You can essentially ignore the Soldier, especially if you have an Immortality field to deploy late in the fight after the real damage is done. So I guess Hydron is heading via Timbuktu back to his team. Just a layover.
Hey, there was no glass there in the middle of the map. I mean, he would have went crazy at the start.
Damn, that's crazy, dude. You know, if they designed the map differently, he would have killed some people there. That's kind of lit.
Yeah, if it was designed like a flashpoint map, he would have went crazy there at the start. You don't get that much progress though, right? So not the end of the world here if you're the Defiant, but the Uprising build up towards some ults. I mean, Izzyaki already with an Ant Matrix is huge.
Yeah, you're probably only going to get about that much progress off the first fight if you're playing fairly safely and don't want to push into the low ground. Kaluji's, oh man, that Javelin spin comes up at the perfect time. Love that one though. Spectra gets flattened now. The Boston Uprising give a chance to extend this lead. And where's Hydron in all of this? Well, he's playing a really wide flank, dealing with the damage fall off that Soldier 76 suffers from. No one's challenging him in this flank.
Well, that's both supports down. And now, like, it feels like you're stuck in a really weird spot here, right? Where they're trying to, like, I mean, Ultra Surge is crazy here. Is, you know, that's the type of situation that stings for the Uprising, right? You're kind of, like, stuck in the middle where the supports with the Illari and the Baptiste do, like, DPS level damage, right? But then you also have Hydron from behind shooting, and the two worst players to lose would be your supports off the rip. So, Defiant will get the cart moving. They're also going to have, like, probably all 5 ultimates, Mitch.
All right. Ever so sneaky beaky for Hydron. He wants to get the drop on Bird, but Birdring has kept tabs on him for the last couple of minutes. Captive Sun there with good coverage, but is there follow-up on those detonations? Getting rid of Decay is massive here. Again, there's no nano to protect him. It's just the sound barrier that Boston opted to use aggressively, and now Hydron gets to punish them, coming in from a long flank with his tactical visor, and now the Defiant are ahead. It's the echoes of a future where they play in front of home fans in our 2023 playoffs, spurring them on.
Yeah, and now when Decay comes in with this blade, right, you have that molten core to kind of just like throw at your feet, throw at the support's feet, right, make it very deadly for him to kind of move on in. And now you put it in a situation where it's like 2 fights, right? You're going to need to be able to take the lead as Birdring will use this overclock. Maybe they can win it with just this.
Good pressure, but not much more from that overclock. The disruptor shot arguably getting much more value, but Spectre is caught. Yeah, only just a little bit of goo as opposed to a lot. Ultraviolet playing back with Hydron here. It's hard to see where the Defiant find a pick to get him back into the fight. I think they'll just be content with this extra progress, and so they will. They force the blade from Decay. They'll have to be happy with the lead they've got.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, right, when Spectra falls, like, there's really nothing you could do at that point. So I think it's probably just trying to, you know, get as far as you can go, then fall, everybody reset together, and now put up a defensive hold. Because look at this, I mean, where the bot pushed to the Uprising, you still have this really sick high ground defense here for the Defiant.
That's because Boston's first push, they didn't really force the issue. They fell back after they'd managed to get to that arch. So now they're going to have to push on. Spurtering finding 2 quick kills, though. Look at this positioning. Aggressively setting himself up on the high ground, ignoring the disruptor shot from Hydron, having just switched to the Sojourn himself. Man, guy winning fights on his own.
Yeah, I think they caught them completely off guard with Izzyaki getting up to the high ground there with Liu gone and Birdring and dropping that Ant Matrix straight away. Had no idea that that was coming from that angle. Just takes out basically all the Defiant pretty fast.
So you're going to equalize here if you're Boston, or get very close to doing so. Birdring's ready for a reactive disruptor shot. but doesn't have to use it. The Defiant don't elect to drop down until now. Here comes Collusion. There's an air matrix from the high ground here, but Marged opts not to make use of it. Captive Sun comes in, but they've lost Ultraviolet already. Healing Pylon doing a lot of work right now as Marged gets the proc on Birdring and is able to finish Smurf off. So the Defiant, yes, they fall behind only just. This is the frustrating spot to be in, right? When the other team just exceeds your total, and you have to go all the way back across the map.
Not even a full meter, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, less than a full meter in terms of distance, where now you're trekking all the way across the other side of the map. I tell you what, though, Hydron could be massive here. An overclock, you know, good overclock here at this part of the map. I mean, when everybody's kind of coming down this, like, just really, you know, hallway, it's just like kind of a shooting gallery, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to land some big hits when these sightlines are long and narrow. Hydron, though, almost falls there. A rail from Birdring. Here's the overclock. Lee J gone already, getting a body shot from that. Birdring going to start firing some of them off himself. Hard to pick targets out here if you're Hydron. There's a lot of effects at play. He'll send the Disruptor shot down to force Birdring out of that line of sight. But he himself doesn't have many targets.
The main difference here is that Boston is playing with the lead in terms of the bot push, so they don't have to push past this like really nice high ground setup that we were just talking about for the Defiant. That'll be a Molten Core to get a pick on the Birdring.
Yeah, that's the headshot with the rail. Hydron was waiting on that for so long. He was keeping his charge up just for that opportunity. And the Toronto Defiant are rewarded for their patience. This will be a checkpoint now and put them in the lead.
Did you see Kaluj actually use that spear spin and just knock them into the Molten Core? Then a little bit of a spear throw on the backside of things, you know, put Smurf into that goo for just a brief period of time. So yeah, they're gonna get that checkpoint in, take the lead, and oh, look at this Captive Sun early.
One more hit on Birdring would have done him in. Looks like someone was able to find it. The Captive Sun proc worked out, and Decay's trying to go for the blade here to try and stop the bleed by causing some of his own. Hydron, though, looking charged up, and Izzyarki's cowering behind that barrier. Almost falling to Hydron now, and you're trying to fight Spectra while he's overcharged? Not a great idea. Decay has to give some ground now. Turret being removed. We'll see frontliners go head-to-head as Kalush is trying to keep Smurf away from the rest of his team with a spear spin of his own, but Decay found Ultraviolet. Kalush tries to respond with an energy javelin in the small room, but Decay is elusive as ever.
Yeah, I mean, there's everybody just coming together inside of that small room where that was not going to end well. Boston's in a really tough spot here, though, Mitch. I mean, they have to make up a ton of progress, but then also they're still fighting up against this high ground because the bot goes so far into their territory that this next fight's going to kick off here just about every other time.
Sound barrier now.
Just to get through.
Marged's the focus. He's 11 final blows out of his team's 23 at that point. Not surprised they beeline for him. Here's the Terror Surge now from Smurf under the Immortality field, but Decay is doing the work in the periphery. It's Ultraviolet down. And Smurf will look to force Kalush away and remove his agency entirely. Now Boston can have a checkpoint of their own and start to put some real pressure back on the Defiant.
Yeah, I think they only lost like one player during that entire, maybe two during that entire engagement. So pretty clean there for Boston, where the Defiant will come back. You know, a Molten Core here could be pretty huge.
A quieter game for Kalush map, but all he needs to do is find Birdring or Decay with this overclock. That'll be enough. His slide gets interrupted, though, trying to get back out of the Immortality field, but Decay was able to find Marged. It'll be a trade of Birdring, but the blade reigns supreme. Decay finds the exact answer they're looking for there. And though the Defiant looked like they had the equipment to win a fight, Hydron with the overclock there, even a Molten Core from Spectra.
They don't use any of it.
Oh, Boston win two fights with like hardly any ults.
Yeah, they actually just kind of give up that fight, so to speak, the Defiant, right? Because I guess they figure that they have, you know, maybe another opportunity at this, but it's gonna get.
They're ahead.
It looks like Boston's gonna take the lead. Yeah.
1 minute left in the round. Toronto. This is for their qualification. Forced back again they are by Kalush. It's an overclock by Hydron. He's had a quieter game on the Sojourn so far, and he can hardly get Smurf off him. Eventually he dances amongst the embers of the Molten Core and finds the Orisa, but the rest of his team have already been felled. 45 seconds left, and Boston's lead will extend.
Yeah, I mean, Spectre gets one here on a little bit of like an exit, but man, this is all Uprising. When Boston, you know, fell behind, I mean, what, they were down like 30 meters in terms of progress, and they have just blown the doors off of this game late.
Disrupt shot thrown out there for Hydron just to try and give the Defiant a little bit of breathing room. He's 4 and 7.
Defense, I think, completely.
Marged's still 11 and 8. So many of his team's final blows here go Gotta hope the Seminoles can step up. It is a sound barrier, another blade on the way, and Decay pops it straight away. In he goes. Margin able to at least get rid of the immortality field, but Decay is hunting for the Iliari, and he's found him. Decay cannot be tracked, it can't be caught, can't be stopped. Smurf with the Terror Surge, that'll seal the deal. And we are going all the way to map 5 again.
Man, just crazy 2 series back to back as the Boston Uprising. I mean, dude, Toronto, that is that's got to be tough for their fans to watch, because they looked like they had an opportunity to potentially seal it, right? I mean, they're up like 30 meters with what, probably like 2 minutes plus to go. And then Boston just turns up, comes alive.
Today, only one team can advance into our 2023 playoffs. For the Defiant, is it a showing in front of a home crowd? For the Boston Uprising, is it a crushing blow delivered to what would be that home crowd? The loser of this match will drop to play against a dangerous London Spitfire in our final qualification game. Matt, this was all about Sir Margin. He had the final blows of both DPS on his team combined. Hydron only ever getting to about 4 and 8 over the course of that map. Started on the Soldier, was ineffective, moved to the Sojourn, no better.
And I thought you really saw Decay get big value out of the blade for, you know, Boston Uprising on the Genji. Like we saw it in the last series with Alfie, right? All the different problems that Genji can cause for your team, where the Decay, you know, a few fights here went absolutely massive, turned the tide of it.
And here it is. This was that moment where Kaluge was knocking the Uprising back into that molten core. Decay built so many blades so quickly over these last couple of fights. This wasn't even the last one. Margin had nowhere to go here. Hydron trying to play under the immortality field. No chance of him either. Let's talk our final map. Oh, this is a nice pick for the Toronto Defiant. Kaluge wants to play Sigma. They want to play their signature poke style, and what better map, Matt, than Circuit Royal?
I'm super curious as well. Do you think they make a substitution boss in terms of tank, right? Like typically we'll see Kalios kind of play that Sigma at times. I wonder if they decide to bring him back in.
It's all on the line here for qualification to our 2023 playoffs. This would not be the time you would leave your PC for any reason. Stick around for our decider map in this key series. Looking back now, it really couldn't have gone any other way here in our final match of the day. And the final match, I guess, of our upper bracket in the play-ins. There's one spot in our playoffs up for grabs, and many of us coming into this, Matt, thought it would be Boston's as a birthright. But the Toronto Defiant have had something to say about that all throughout the series. But this guy on Colosseo helps get his team over the line to force it to a map 5.
Yeah, I mean, he is always aggressive, always in your face. When things are going great, you're loving it. I mean, one of the more exciting players to watch in the league. When things, don't go his way in the Boston Uprising's way, I think he catches a lot of just, flack for some of the stuff that goes on there. But man, is he fun to watch, as on Colosseo, he plays great.
It's the kind of map where support players have a big impact over the game. Margin on the other side of things, ending with 11 or 12 final blows. Like I mentioned, it's as much or more than Hydron and Spectra put together on that map. We again see Hydron play these long angles, these flank attempts with the Soldier 76, really wants to try and put constant pressure down, but it doesn't pay off as the Uprising ignore him and push into the rest of the Toronto Defiant. This time, Boston don't have Ana, right? They're not trying to nano decay. He doesn't bloody need it. And we saw that for sure. Izyaki's able to set Smurf up with an Immortality Field, and Decay can get it done without the nano with some massive blades against the no support ultimate composition of the Defiant.
Yeah, I mean, now as we go into this fifth and final map, I mean, dude, the pressure that's on for Toronto, right? Like, to qualify for the event in your city, right? You can get it done now. You don't have to kind of like wait till tomorrow, play another match, have to beat somebody again, right? I mean, just that is a lot of pressure, in my opinion, on the Defiant.
Absolutely. But again, knowing that they have 2 opportunities to qualify for such an honor, surely going to help them, but they're not thinking about their next game. No one wants to try and roll the weighted dice against the London Spitfire anyway.
No.
So here we are. This is how the map set played out. Lijiang Tower, very strong outing for the Boston Uprising, but Numbani and Survasa looked very Defiant-oriented. Colosseo, though, it was back and forth, competitive maps all the way through this series, but Circuit Royal, you have to think, is the kind of map that suits the inherent preferences of the Defiant. So we wondered, Matt, would we see substitutions from the Boston Uprising? Maybe Kalios comes into play Sigma or something. That has not happened.
They probably thought about it. I mean, they were like, hey, like, what do we want to do here? But we have seen, like, is it like Smurf can't play like some of these heroes, right? That Kalios has come into play.
Why not just play Junker Queen
in the past? Or yeah, I mean, you could do that, right? I mean, we'll get an idea of what. I mean, no, you can just have Smurf play the Sigma if you need to, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think he's bad at it.
No, we've seen much less of it. I think we have a lot less data to rely on, at least recently, for Boston. But they have to have prepared for this map in some way. I don't know if we get the Moira here. That would be a little bit of fun. That's something worth discussing if that actually comes out of the gates. But let's talk about the Defiant setup. Margin is not Payangliari.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can really play it as well here, right? I think we do know they've gone with the Zen at times. We've seen other teams even like experiment here with the Zen. So Hydron on the Widowmaker.
Oh, it's a map 5 special.
We casted a cave on Dorado where he went absolutely nuclear.
A-game? That was the game, man. That was the game of the week. Undeniably. So we did get Smurf on the Junker Queen, by the way. Not the Sigma. But Hydron, map 5. I'm like, man, why did you just pick Dorado and go for it? I'm here for this, though. Lee Jae-gon gets caught already. Kaluge was able to find that elimination. Looks like Lee Jae-gon tries to go up the stairs.
Yeah, you wonder now, like, who's going to be the one that puts this pressure right onto Hydron? Like, it's a large area for Decay to cross because you also have like the the Discord to obviously make his life a little bit difficult. You have the stun where Kaluge can kind of take control of the cart all himself.
I will say, though, the Defiant are playing very far back on account of having this double hit scan set up. They've allowed the cart to push all the way to this choke. This will give the high ground now to Boston, but they can't make much use of it here with a Genji of their own. Decay tries to access Hydron, but it's not just Hydron, Matt. That back line are playing together. It's Spectra, Hydron, and Margit.
Yeah, I think it's just like a really slow pace that Defiant is okay with playing here. And I think you have to, look, if you're going to play that type of way, it is just a lot of belief that, Hydron is going to be able to come and pick up with some kills, because every time he gets a pick, it seems like they just back out, right? Which just burns clock. Like, it seems like that's the type of style they're okay with playing here.
Oh, there's Birdring.
Oh.
Hydron was trained on Smurf. Birdring is able to find the rail shot kill onto Hydron. Gravitic Flux, though, look how low Boston are. They are struggling. Margit's found Decay already. So now, how do you pressure the backline of the Defiant at all here? Birdring's in deep trouble, able to avoid the accretion, but not the bouncing hyperspheres. Smurf with a commanding shout to try and put himself in the fight here. Lee Jae-gon found Hydron, God knows where.
Yeah, where did that go down? Lee Jae-gon just kind of like just speeds past. Looks like maybe goes towards the spawn. Smurf still alive. So Lee Jae-gon, you think, would just need to fall, right? Just, get himself out of here, but... All right.
Okay. A lot of pressure being put on the DPS by Lee Jae-gon.
Yeah, I mean, that is crazy. But now, I mean, look, we're already at 1:30, right? You ended up using your Gravitic Flux, you ended up using your Infrasight here, but Overclock, Transcendence, Amp Matrix, right? Like, you win this fight, like, there's a chance that you're looking at, like, final fight territory for the Uprising, which not even getting checkpoint A would be brutal.
There's Overclock from Spectre here. Oh, here comes the Rampage, and Spectra's brought low. The Immortality Field is too late. Can Hydron stand up in his stead? Smurf is hit with a Discord Orb right now. That's been transferred. Sound barrier for Lee Jae-gon, and now Smurf, you imagine, has to go for it. A blade here for Decay, completely disregarding the Transcendence, and the Uprising trample over the Defiant.
Yeah, I mean, that is huge. It's a really nice Rampage. And then also they recognize, like, Spectra, pretty key target there, like, off to the side. It's the Immortality Field just a second too late. And I don't even think it's, like, Ultraviolet's fault. I think it's just the travel distance that it needs to go. Not able to keep Spectra alive. Everything else crumbles after that. So Boston, they avoid that dangerous situation of not getting that first point.
How do you fight your way back out now? Good hit on Decay. Fully charged body shot, I think, from Hydron there. But Birdring's Overclock is a little bit of a scary prospect to face if you're the defenders here. You'll allow the card to progress a little bit further before you worry about peeking out. And here's Kaluge behind the shield, but an Amp Matrix might force them straight back in. Margin wasn't quick enough.
I don't even think that's through the Amp Matrix. I mean, maybe like one or two of the shots, but that final shot is not even through that. And they push up, they get right up here at this door. Look at how far the payload has gotten.
You try and get out here behind a Gravitic Flux. That is the only option that you have. And even then, there's no guarantee. Decay is a nuisance there on that left side window, making a half a Hydron to get space. Accretion didn't connect. Kalu's trying to hold here, and here's the Flux. He just wants the Junker Queen, but look, it takes so much damage in order to do so. The Immortality Field does its job, but there's players playing the off angle outside the door as well to deal with. Hydron needs that kill, and he finds it. The body shot is good. Lee Jae-gon is out of the picture. Now Decay is a problem, but the Discord Orb makes it an easy enough kill. Hydron needs more, though. He'll get it. Through the Air Matrix, he'll claim Smurf.
I really love the way that Kaluge, he ends up using his Gravitic Flux. I mean, nice shots there by Hydron towards the end. He ends up using his Flux and knows how weak he is, and he needs to, like, just play it like, not typically as a Sigma would, just fly up in the sky, right? He just stays so low, so he stays inside of that Immortality Field, allows himself to get healed back up.
Now you got good sight lines, but they'll be denied as the Uprising try and cross the divide awfully quick behind the speed boost and commanding shout combo. They zip to their next form of cover and force Hydron to play from well back of the checkpoint.
You got nothing to work with here if you're the Defiant. I mean, you ended up investing everything to just stay alive, right? Deny that second checkpoint. Oh, nice accretion there across the map pretty much from Kaluge. Yes. Just trying not to line up here. Play a little bit spread.
Spectre is the target this time as well. He's caught as well as Kaluge. Immortality Field will prolong what seems to be the inevitable, but the regenerative burst from Ultraviolet keeps Spectre standing. That's big. He's close to an Overclock as well. That card is on the move here, but the Defiant have a chance to stop this now. 1.3 meters and Hydron now will assume the position. He'll wrap around, but they've lost Kaluge. The Immortality Field and the Air Matrix, that's too much for the Defiant to deal with. The Uprising just pile on ability after ultimate after ability, and they'll get themselves into the last phase of the map.
Yeah, I think they needed basically Kalush to live just a tad bit longer, and then Surmajid would have had the Transcendence. You maybe end up investing there on the point, but not enough there. As the Uprising, they get that second checkpoint. Look at this. They want to play aggressive yet again. This worked out really well for them in the last
Smoke's dead.
point. Oh, yeah, he's very dead.
Even if he didn't die in mid-air, he would have splattered when he hit the ground. His constitution being what it was at below half health. Lee Jae-gon trying to dodge this hyperspeed damage, but the Boston Uprising, their gambit to claim the high ground falls flat. Or does it? Decay's able to find Marjed here.
Yeah, and the payload's still moving. You have another player up there. I believe that's Izzyaki with Decay. So the payload is still moving. You have Izzyaki and Decay up here. They kind of like taking control of some of this high ground. Now Hydron wants to take it back using the Infrasight.
How have they done this? And they lose half their team in order to do this, but they won't be moved after the fact. Body shot on Decay there. Smurf's looking low on the low ground. Who's going to help him? Here's a sound barrier though. That's a big one. Immortality field down from Ultraviolet, but Birdring's able to use the window now. And he gets in. Transcendence, not a problem for the most part. Decay cuts through it. Spectre at least is able to trade on that kill, but it's just DPS. Long-range DPS standing for Toronto.
Yes, I mean, you're not really going to get any great sight lines here. For Hydron is you see Smurf just hiding behind the payload as it's moving on in, and Matrix as well.
Getting pressured down by Lee Jae-gon now. Is Hydron trying to pick over the edge? The Immortality field is gone. There's an opening for the Widow here, but Lee Jae-gon, whether he knows it or not, evades his demise. It's Decay gets in there, gives Hydron a bit of a clap, and now the pressure mounts on towards Ultraviolet. It's a gravitic flux that never finishes. In mid-air, Kalush is brought down, and the Uprising finish the map with time to spare.
Yeah, 4 seconds on the clock, so barely get it across. Some pretty good defense there by the Defiant, but in those big clutch moments, Boston just way too good.
Oh man, I love the play the Boston make to try and get that high ground, because it looks really messy. In fact, they lose quite a few players, whether they're on the low ground, it didn't make it up, or they get up and they're forced down, but they stay there because Decay knows I'm actually here with Izzyaki, so I can do a lot of damage. We have an Immortality field should I need it. And the Defiant have lost a couple players who've actually killed their DPS playing this high ground. So let's just stay and wait for reinforcements.
They also don't even need to really kill anything up there. They just need to be present, right? I mean, just the amount of pressure they were putting on Kalush is like he's standing there on the cart. Birdring is coming around the corner, right, with the payload. You also have some damage coming in from above. Like, it kind of forces him into like a that closed off little room there, which makes it difficult for him to kind of play. Like, so I think didn't even need to like go push further and try and even get some kills coming off spawn. They just need to occupy that space.
4 seconds on the clock. We've seen some ridiculous Circuit Royal games that have gone to extra innings this season. And you still have to feel pretty good about Toronto's composition. Hydron, at the end of the round, is 5 and 6, pretty respectable. Spectre, though, is a little bit quiet. Just the 3 final blows, and with Marjed not playing the Iliar anymore, not really taking a foundational damage-dealing role, he's not able to have the output that's needed in the event that either Spectre or Hydron goes off the boil.
No, I mean, well, we used to think of Zen as like your, damage dealing support, right? And then
if only we knew.
Already showed up. If only we knew. But hey, I mean, Surgeon here's at the start. That gets rid of Izzyaki, which is like the group healing here for the Uprising. So they're going to be really weak.
Hydron's been keenly aware that Decay has been trying to take that high ground and just sort of sit there. And Hydron hasn't really been able to push up there sort of aggressively yet in the round.
This is weird.
Yep, they've swapped places. They have done this, and I guess the Defiant get to defend again.
Izzyaki coming from the high ground there. You see this? Like, Hydron has to know that
this is over. This fight's over.
To his right, yeah.
He's hardly the focus because Hydron knows that Izzyaki can't heal anyone from there, so why pay him any heed?
I mean, what do you do if you're Boston? Do you just die straight away, right? And at least reset with Izzyaki? Like, I mean, that is just a free first point.
And look, the time bank that you get from that can't be underestimated. Now the Toronto Defiant as well will have a great comp to assail this high ground because Hydron can wait for peaks, put pressure on anybody who tries to show themselves. How's Birdring supposed to challenge this from the high ground when there's 2 hit scans looking up there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Just doesn't.
Yeah, no, right? I mean, especially when one can, I mean, both hit scans really can just kind of one-shot you. As Hydron takes some damage there from Birdring. Gets it all healed up. But
He's got harmony.
Even look at like...
He caught them all! Great reactive flux there, and Birdring gets collapsed upon. Still might be hard to stop the Uprising as they were all in on this fight.
Yeah.
The idea was good.
They had the sound barrier going. The sound barrier's huge there to keep everybody up. And the one thing that was really interesting is that like Hydron has this angle where like even Smurf comes up to like contest the payload. Like he's able to just get free shots down on Smurf too, make it really difficult. But still a ton of time for Boston. I mean, Toronto, right? And you get that first checkpoint really fast, and that opens the door up for hey, we can lose 2-3 fights and we're still good.
Yeah, worth bearing in mind, you can still shoot under and between those barriers, right? Lich, God, it's just a hair-brained attempt to get into the fight there, but it works out. Smurf came in with a rampage. That's not going to be any good. It's now after the anti-heal expires, the Transcendence was in play for Sir Margin, and hey, we're still dealing with over 3.5 minutes of time for Toronto. They're sitting nicely here, approaching the second checkpoint.
I mean, let's see how they deal with this Blade, though, right? I mean, Blade and Overclock, nothing to work with here. I mean...
Someone's in their bag.
It's the idea to just, maybe let Hydron push up, maybe get it hit early.
The one might be enough. Look how low Smurf is already. Birdring trying to go for the overclock. He gets a good hit on Hydron, and yes, Lee Jagon is able to follow it up. But you lost 2 plays. You lost Smurf at the start of that fight. Lee Jagon gets back, though, with a vengeance, by the way. Dealing with Hydron, and the Boston Uprising win that with like at first it was 3 and then 4 plays, but short-handed fight. Birdring comes alive.
Yes, Hydron takes some big damage, and he kind of like goes around the corner, and I think he goes to peek it again, but
the Cheerios
pre-firing it there as Lucio, just hits him with the Cheerios and ends up getting the kill. So maybe you just needed to wait like another beat there to be able to kind of get healed up, but that's tough. Look at how aggressive they're getting behind the speed.
Yeah, nicely done here. Decay with the Blade.
They let them get to that first corner, and then as soon as that corner hits, the Legion God just goes high with a speed boost, and they come right over the top.
Also worth reminding you that waiting the lower brackets, not just the London Spitfire, it's also the Vancouver Titans. Like, let's not forget about, like, who is waiting for you there. I know Jake on the desk said that, both of these teams he expects to qualify, but you have quality opposition. So it's not just like you fall down out of this game, then you have your next chance. You've got to do some serious work, and I'm curious to see how that London and Vancouver game goes. Some people reminded me, thank you, Mr. Gilchrist. Always want to correct me if it comes to the Vancouver Titans, but that is right. They are waiting for their chance as well to throw their hat in the ring.
Speed boost, sound barrier, they just get engaged right on top of them, and I mean, they just can't deal with this pressure, right? If the Widow is like not going to be able to, there's like multiple targets on the screen, right? Not going to one-click everybody, right? And same, with the Sojourn, like when the fights are going that fast. So you get this speed, you get right up, and they're just cycling the ults, right? That time, sound barrier, go in. What do they have this time? You'll have that, Smurf Rampage, you'll be able to use that. No Transcendence on the other side, right? Even if it's an anti-heal. What do you do after that, right? You have an Overclock, you probably have a Blade.
All right, infraside there for Hydron, but all he sees is the silhouettes of the Uprising running at them full tilt. Lee Jagon, though, not able to get back to the rest of his team. He's caught by Spectra's overclock. Now the Defiant have the advantage. They still have info that's just expired, that infrasite. But Toronto have seen all they need to. Now there's a Transcendence and an Air Matrix in play. There's much more to be played here on Circuit Royal. Now, we're going to set this up for a guaranteed take with the Rampage. Comes through a Core 3. Marty goes for the Transcendence, but he can't save Ultraviolet. Now there's only 3 left. The Defiant with 37 seconds left in the game have to flip this on its head, and they do it. Spectra finds 2 kills. Majid able to hang in there with the rest of this team as well. And Toronto against the odds in that fight. That was a nasty Rampage from Smurf. They hang on.
Oh man, I was gonna say they needed that kill onto Decay. I don't know if you saw how weak they got Decay, and he was able to make it out with his life. But man, they end up bouncing back in a big way. And Soriched goes over to the Alari. So Hydron gonna play Tracer. Don't know if this was just to get back towards the cart and the the last push, but maybe he stays on it, and you'll have Soriched pick up the Alari. So some extra damage.
Okay, from the high ground they come with the commanding shout. The Boston Uprising. What a play from this causeway here. Hydron switches to the Tracer. It doesn't feel like anything but a concession every time we've seen it today. But a minute 15 now, Toronto just want to get this map done, if at all possible. Decay works around the accretion and is going to go for the blade now. We spot Spectra in the distance and the slide was already used. It's easy pickings for your boy. Decay wants that championship more than almost any other. And so Majid can't get away with the outburst. It'll be Hydron nudging it forward. And then he'll be discovered too.
Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, do you stay on the Tracer? I mean, towards the end here, right? The Widow's not really going to pay off. I feel like they would just collapse on you so fast. With how fast they were collapsing on them, you know, in the last point, right? This one is just even easier, right? So the Tracer maybe be able to put some pressure on the support's not the worst idea.
Lee Gon getting past that disruptor shot here. Sound barrier, that's important. That's what's allowed the Uprising to go so aggressive on this Defiant comp that really wants to hold them at arm's length for as long as possible. There's 20 seconds for the attackers to get the map done. This is crucial. There's a lot available for the Uprising here. Sound barrier straight away. They're going to go forward. Spectra disintegrates. Kaluge about to become a red mist now as Smurf surges ahead. The pulse bomb from Hydron gets good damage and claims the immortality field. And Hydron's able to finish Smurf off, but it's going to take more than that. Recall. Majid and Ultraviolet are still alive. They're close to their ultimates too. Majid hangs on and here's the captive Sunny lays it down. Izayaki got to get hit one more time to poke that, but the healing's just too good. Izayaki brings Sir Majid down, but Hydron's still a problem on this Tracer. He comes out of recall and Smurf now gets hacked. It's a switch to Sombra for Spectra, and Ultraviolet takes to the skies. Kaluge is back on the Doomfist here. Toronto will not give up. They will not succumb. And they're going to get themselves over the line. Birdrin can't touch it. He's punched back. We have ourselves extra innings.
Dude, you see Ultraviolet's reaction. He just like sits back in his chair like, oh man. I gotta say, Hydron, look, Sir Majid with the, you know, doing a nice job staying alive as well with Ultraviolet, but Ultraviolet being able to keep Hydron up and Hydron being able to just stay alive, like, you know, on the payload long enough, put down some damage for Spectra and Kaluge to get back into the fight. That is enormous stuff there. I mean, keeps their automatic, you know, playoff, you know, qualification hopes alive, right? I mean, if they don't, you know, and Hydron falls, if he falls a little bit earlier than what he did, I mean, those players aren't coming back off a spawn like that. That's GG there. I mean, insane stuff.
Going back 3 weeks, would you have given the Defiant the slightest chance in a matchup against the Boston Uprising? Let's go back 3 weeks, a month.
Slightest chance?
Like, give me a percentage.
I mean, you know, I would have said this is like pre-Alari, right? I guess you're talking about. I'd say like you're gonna give him probably like 30%, right? 30%
I think 25 would have been fair at
25,
the time.
Yeah.
And the Boston Uprising are a team that's, you know, like standing up to squads like the Atlanta Reign, Houston Outlaws, the Florida Mayhem, giving us those kind of games. We do see them fall just below that tier break between those top three and the rest of the league, but they're a serious competitor. The Toronto Defiant has come from nowhere in this meta. We've said it multiple times. This may well be their time. It's a May for Spectra.
This might catch Boston off guard a little bit as well. Playing the May Bastion here when the Uprising are playing this Junker Queen, right? I mean, you catch Junker Queen off. I mean,
that was massive.
That's what's going to happen.
All of the Uprising stuck inside that room except for Smurf, and they flatten them. Hydron comes out on the beat boot mofo. It's Bastion. What a turnaround for the Defiant, and the Uprising are reeling.
So do you need wholesale changes here? Or do you just feel like, okay, so they're going to go with just the Orisa here, thinking that this could potentially be enough?
The May is a huge problem
now.
Because even on this low ground, Matt, you can easily section people off with this wall. If they try and push you inside that room, if they try and fall back, play off the point, this is dangerous. How do you play against the May? You have to figure it out now if you're Boston, or this could get out of hand. Healing turret working overtime there from Sir Majid. Here's the Air Matrix, and Birdring is already down. The May is the pick that completely blindsides the Boston Uprising, and they just hand over this checkpoint.
Oh, I mean, that is the first checkpoint gone. Everybody, somebody stay on the payload. Thank you, Sir Dead. As he will have the captive Sun for that next fight. But yeah, I mean, especially when they're running Junker Queen, right? To catch them, just split the Queen off and then have the wheels mode. I mean, no shot the Queen's going to be able to live through that.
Dangerous here. Look how far forward the Toronto Defiant have pushed. That healing pylon. hard to pick off from that position. Now they're going to try and push ahead of it. It's a Maywall that comes out straight away, though. Ice block for Spectra here. Martin with a captive stun, and can Izayaki avoid those mortars? He can. Exo Boots send him up. Can't still the move. Hydron got speared to the wall there. Has to be an immortality field to keep him alive, but Ultraviolet doesn't save it for himself. The Blizzard allows him to claim Smurf, and now the Terror Surge. Izayaki, there's no way he's getting out of that. A sound barrier for 3 players and a blade and a dream for Decay. That's all they've got to work with here. But Birdring from the back has found 3. What a massive moment for Boston to finally put this to bed for Toronto. I thought after that Blizzard, they were in trouble.
It still feels good for Toronto, though. I mean, a minute on the clock. It's not like, you know, that they finished with a ton of extra time, Boston, right? You now are in a spot where, what, you need like two fights, really, to go your way. The Defiant here early on, and then you play for OT, right? I mean, they're in a spot where they can definitely win.
Oh, man. Oh man, okay. That is an extremely long push though for about a minute of time. You've done very well pulling the May out, the Bastion of your own here. It was perfect the way that the Uprising were stuck inside that room while Smurf is exposed to the full brunt of the damage. Do you have the opportunity to try and take your opponents by surprise now, or do you stick to your protocols? This was Birdring those last couple of moments, so he gets around that barrage, throws one down. Look at this spear that comes in here.
He kills Ultraviolet with it.
Well, because Ultraviolet has to use his immortality field on the Bastion, not himself.
I think he gets hit. He hit him in the sky.
Direct hit.
No holding back.
So if you're in the air, they come down like little globes, right? So if you're in the air, you can obviously avoid the explosive damage. But if you get hit direct by it, it's curtains, bozo.
What do you think about going with the Zen Widowmaker on D yet again?
Look, a lot of pressure.
When they were on,
yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. May not even be relevant.
Well, I was gonna say, it seemed like when they were on offense, the Toronto Defiant, like with this type of composition, Boston had figured it out, right? Speed and get aggressive. I don't know if you can really do that as well, you know, on their offensive side, right? They were able to do it on defense, but now being on offense, right? You can't just like speed everybody around this corner and just, you know, zerg down the Widow at a distance. I mean, it's just not easy.
These body shots on Smurf when he's hit with a Discord Orb are also nothing you can just shrug off. Like, you've really got to respect that Hydron could be a serious threat to the tank here. Look at everyone from the Boston Uprising. They cross to the right side, out of that Widow line of sight, to assume this high ground position as the cart moves through the choke.
Just takes one shot from the Widow. So you see Hydron just holding this angle, right? Already down at 10 seconds. Think about how much more progress they got after this as well. One headshot here could send the Defiant realistically to the playoffs.
One kill, one headshot. That's all. There it is! Hydron's found it! Lee J gone! Headshot as he tries to cross the point. It's traded out instantly though because Decay shuts Spectra down with that deflect. Hydron's still playing from a safe spot though. Still a lot of time to work within a 4 versus 4, and your opponents don't have the mobility. You need to respect the Amp Matrix from Izayaki, but Ultraviolet has one and he pops it down pretty much at the same time. Kinetic Grasp from Kaluj eats up a lot of that damage. His own shield will mitigate even more of it. Izayaki's lost an immortality field and has to play safe as Lee Jack on is discorded and pressured down in the back. Kaluj needs to be careful, not overextending him, and Martin did just that. Lee Jack on beelines for him and takes the Zen out, but it's Hydron again fighting Izayaki, only to get traded out instantly. Lee Jack on at 50 HP. Decay has the blade right now. This could be where it happens, or save it for later, because the Uprising are not done.
Oh man, this starts to look scary here for the Defiant. You're gonna have first sight, you're gonna have overclock. You might, probably gonna get the Transcendence here, but they have Rampage, Sound Barrier, Blade. How do you combat those 3?
Well, first, Infrasight lets you know where the Genji's trying to set up from. You slide away, you use your mobility. You need to kill the Genji in that blade. Hydron, an early pick here, could be massive. Smurfs under a lot of pressure, but here's a sound barrier. Here's the blade. This could be it. The Boston Uprising reaching for glorious spot in playoffs, and the swings come in. Spectra finally brought down. The immortality field won't stop the bleed. It won't stop the avalanche, and the Boston Uprising secure their spot in Toronto. And the would-be hometown heroes will have to try again. But they've been thrown to the Sharks in that lower bracket. The Vancouver Titans and the Spitfire are hungry too.
Man, what a comeback there at the end for the Uprising. I know Hydron kicks things off. That headshot onto Lee Jae-gon, but still that fight just extends for so long. It just wasn't enough. And then once they actually get that first checkpoint, you start to take kind of stock of what everybody has. And you're like, oh, this is such a sick combination. The sound barrier, the blade, the rampage. I mean, there is just no way you can counter that as Boston clutches up at the end.
Toronto, they get the chance to pick the last map. It's not the map where Hydron set the world on fire. Not Dorado, no, it's Circuit Royal. They say, we've got the Sigma comp, we've got the Zen player. We're perfectly equipped to win the match here. Boston say, well, we have Decay. We have Sound Barrier, Lee Jae-gon. I mean, there was a moment there, Matt, where Marjet is playing a little out of position just in front of that first checkpoint. Off to the side, he dropped down from the low ground for whatever reason. Immediately, Lee Jae-gon, Decay, dive him, find the kill on the Zen. All of a sudden, Kalush is on the back foot. Let's do a play of the match here. That was an exhilarating series, to say the least. And one of the players that brought this about was Decay, still playing the Genji against all these teams that are sort of opting out, going for different looks, whether it's with Nano or without. This guy was breaking these fights open.
Yeah, I mean, just really strong performance from Decay all series long. Look, we obviously saw some great stuff out of Birdering as well in terms of the damage dealers, but these blades came up big time and time again, just like Alfie in the series before against London. Just not enough for Alfie to get the job done, but oh man, Decay did get the job done for the Uprising today.
Yeah, tough ask going up against the Iliari Baptiste combo. Also the double hit scan. He had to be very wary of Widow and Sojourn at all times. But when he was called upon to really start the fight off, when Boston said, hey, we need to force this. We need to brawl this poke comp, which is such a frustrating thing for so many teams to do. They got it done. Yeah, 10 deaths, I'm not surprised. It's a tough comp to push into, but hey, 20 final blows, don't lie.
I mean, this is just on Circuit Royal right here at the end, right? So, I mean, just the seal the deal, put it away. And a lot of those, I mean, Lee Jae-gon does a tremendous job, right, on the defensive side of things and even on offense there towards the end, using that speed, getting everybody in that position. And Defiant, they have no way to disengage. Surmajet on the Zen, it's a pretty easy dive target, right? Especially when you're playing like a Widow and a Sojourn, right? Not a lot of like upfront damage, like make people pay the price to get that close in terms of HP. And man, they just pull it out in the end.
A really competitive match played by two teams with very different styles. That's the beauty of the metagame right now. You can craft a strategy to suit yourself, but I'd love to hear our desk's opinions on the Sharks waiting in the waters there in that lower bracket, because the trials, the tribulations are far from done for this Toronto Defiant team. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be an incredible day of games. We're going to step aside now. We're going to head over to the desk and break down the day that was and set our sights ahead to the finalization of our play-ins.
위도 궁이야. 계단 쪽인데 계단
봐야 될 듯.
와줘. 나가자 이어가 좀.
대충 알면 공격해. 해서 우리사.
거점 밟아줘 거점 줘.
우리사.
거점.
거점 도와줘 이제.
파티.
Welcome back, one and all. Your final moments here, of course, as the Boston Uprising got the W.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just all cheering. It was actual comms. They start off by saying, the Widow ult is on. Be wary. And then they were all constantly reminding each other, touch point, focus on this person. And then they just kept saying, touch the point, touch the point. Don't get
At some point, you're up like 3 kills. The only thing that matters is sticking on the point.
Like three people on the team were just constantly saying, touch the point, like don't get off the point. Yeah.
They know, they're pros. That's experience. You've seen that a few times in your career. Let me tell you, in those moments you say, somebody stay on the card.
Also, you have Lee Jae-gon on your team. You're like, Lee Jae-gon, please send us a card. This one time, bro.
I'm begging you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously super intense last few moments there. Boston Uprising keeping the composure, staying on that point, getting the kills when it really mattered. But what a match this was. Toronto Defiant played them so close. These are definitely two of the favorite teams heading into the play-ins. But as Mitch already said, as they wrapped up the cast, like there's sharks in the water there for Toronto Defiant. It's going to be such a hotly contested lower bracket run that the Toronto Defiant have to go up against. Vancouver Titans, London Spitfire, one of those two teams will be their next opponents. But let's talk about Boston Uprising in a second. They punched their tickets. They will be in the playoffs in Toronto. And before we're going to dissect all the action, let's head straight to the winner's interview with Lee Jae-gon.
All right, thank you, Zoe. As Zoe said, I will be talking to Lee Jae-gon from Boston Uprising. Lee Jae-gon, big congratulations on getting this win. This was such an important match, but you guys finally did it. You guys are going to Toronto. So how do you feel right now? 자, 일단 오늘 승리를 축하드리면서 굉장히 중요한 경기였습니다. 오늘 당연히 되게 너무나 다행히 승리를 거두셨기 때문에 이제 토론토에 풀업 진출이 확정이 되는데요. 일단 소감 한 말씀 듣고 싶습니다.
사실 오늘 경기가 상대적으로 좀 많이 힘들 거라 생각했는데 이제 왜냐하면 토론토 조합을 쓰는 팀도 없고 연습할 길이 없어서 오늘 이긴 게 더 뜻깊게 더 기쁜 것 같습니다.
I mean, going into today's match, I knew that today was going to be a difficult battle to win against Toronto Defiant, mainly because there's not a lot of teams that utilize Toronto's composition, so it's really hard to practice against, and we couldn't really scrim, so that was a worry. But so that's why getting this win really means even more, has more meaning. It's a lot more meaningful to get this win today against Toronto Defiant. I mean, just diving a little bit more to that, because this was such a close battle. How did Boston Uprising defeat the Toronto Defiant today in your eyes? 자, 방금 이제 굉장히 어렵고 어떻게 보면은 좀 힘든 경기였지만 그래도 끝에서 승리를 하셨기 때문에 오늘 경기 좀 대체적으로 좀 어떻게 해서 이기신 것 같으신가요?
사실 우리사 조합 상대로 조금 대체하자는 생각이 좀 있었는데 그냥 다 같이 팀업을 맞춰서 들어가기만 하자, 상대 그냥 뒷라인만 탁 보자 해서 팀업이 맞춰져서 잘 이긴 것 같습니다.
All right. I mean, going up against the Orisa Cup was our main focus. I think our key to our victory was sort of working on our teamwork and really sort of consistently diving into their backline and trying to cut off their backline was our strategy, and that is how we got the win. All right, final question. You guys are going into playoffs. You guys are going to Toronto. Is there a certain team that Lee Jae-gon you sort of want to really face off against in Toronto? 자, 마지막 질문은 이제 프로에 가서 토론토에 가서 좀 이재건 선수가 고를 수 있다면 좀 어떤 팀과 좀 첫 대결을 하시고 싶으신가요?
저는 가장 이제 센 에트를 고르고 싶고요. 이제 왜냐하면 어차피 강한 상대 만나서 이제 저희가 증명을 해야 된다고 생각하기 때문에 빨리 만나는 게 좋지 않을까라고 생각합니다.
Right. It will definitely have to be the strongest team currently in the Overwatch League, the Atlanta Reign, because end of the day, we're going to have to face them. So I think it's easier for us to just face them early on and to really prove that we are better than the Atlanta Reign. All right, I'm going to end the interview here. Lee Jae-gon, thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you in Toronto. 자, 그럼 토론토에서 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.